Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the Turnaround Coach. This week on our episode, I am going to share with you the things that when I started working in turnaround schools that I would find as my main focus. So we all know that my process is involving or does involve doing a deep dive analysis, finding out what's working, what's not working, what's causing things to work and not work, and then developing solid plans to make improvement while thinking about both leadership skills and your climate and culture. So when I would do my deep dive analysis, I would look at a few different areas, and that's what I'm going to cover over the next few weeks, just because I think that it's important, no matter if your organization is a school or a small business, that you can just think about how I process through everything so that you too can go back to your organization and make the good work happen. So one of the first things that I wanted to focus on, because when you are working with an organization that is struggling, most of the work that I did was in places where there was a big gap. Now, I also provide services for you if you're just trying to scale your business, and maybe that means going from here to here, right? Because that's important work as well. You never want to have to go from here to here. This is hard. That's hard work. Now, can we do it? Absolutely, we can do it. Does this process work? Absolutely, because I've been there. But we also have to think about when we set our goals, we want to make sure that we're setting them to a place where, it's something that's attainable, that it's action, like we can actually do it within that timeline that we have. So the first thing that I always had to think about is, where were we? Where did we need to be? And within that first year, how far could we get? And so my mantra always became focus on growth. Even when I do things personally in my life, I'm a runner. When I train I don't do full marathons, I do half marathons each year. When I start the training process, I think about where I'm starting, where I need to get to, and then what are those milestones along the way? What's my growth, my own growth? There's no way at 52 I can go and say I'm going to win this year's half marathon in Houston, because that's not attainable. But I can say that at 52, and I didn't run last year, and I have been dealing with a knee injury, that I'm going to complete the whole half marathon. Make sense? Because that would be the growth for me. So let's go back to, how do we determine this growth? I do want to say that each process is going to be a little bit different on this. You have to determine, again, where you are, where you want to be, and then what's going to happen along the way. But here's what I do have to say. You want to be able to set your growth goals, maybe at first a bit low. And I say that because success breeds success. If you start to set those too high to start, people will get discouraged. You will get discouraged. You as an organization will start to feel like you're never going to get there. So as you set, and this is something that I do with you if I come in and work with you, but as you set these milestones, you need to think about, what are my first big ticket items to work on? And when it comes to growth, maybe it's, I want to increase our revenue by $500 a month or $1,000 a month. Now that may seem like, oh my gosh, I want to be at 6 or 7 figures. Okay, I get that. But if you set it to already go from, let's say, 5,000 to 25,000 a month, that's a $20,000 gap. And if you're not there or haven't been there yet, that may not be attainable. And then you're going to get discouraged. Setting those milestones at these increment levels will definitely benefit the work that you do. Because here's what would happen. You set it for 1,000. You make it. Then you set it for 2,000 the next month and you make it. Now you're starting to feel some momentum. Now your climate and culture of your organization is starting to feel like, yeah, we can do this. Your leadership skills, you're going to start to feel like, okay, maybe I have a system, a process in place that I can actually scale even more. So now we start to think, okay, what if we double 2,000 to 4,000? And then what if we go from 4,000 to 8,000? Now, think about this. 8,000 over 12 months, you're starting to get closer to that 6-figure mark, right? And then you start to get to that 8 to 16. And now that's a big jump, but now you're already 5 months in thinking, okay, we've got something here. This is what's working. This is what we need to kind of pivot and focus more on. This is what we need to start getting rid of. So as you can see, building incremental growth is going to be your key when you're starting to set the goals for your turnaround or even for your scaling. Now, again, I'm using a number that worked, 500, 1,000. That's an easy math number. You're going to develop that based on your needs, your organization's specific plan, right? And where you are. Maybe you're already at 6 figures and you want to scale to 7. Those goals are going to look completely different. But remember, growth, growth, growth. Now, let me go back to why I say growth as we wrap this up. School systems are a little bit different. We don't get to choose our customers. We take the community. Now, I chose always the community in which I was going to work. And I always knew that it was going to be a challenge just because that's the community I chose. It takes a little longer with a school system. And when we approach things, have to approach them a little bit different, right? But when I first went to this final school, because that was the biggest turnaround I think I did. When I first went to this final school and we stayed focused on the growth, we saw every single goal was met that first year, every one. There wasn't question. And as a matter of fact, because our measurement was based on test scores, not the only measurement, but one of them, we actually received specific distinctions from the state because of the growth that we made. That was in the spring of 2016. The fall of 2017 is when Hurricane Harvey happened. And as we were preparing for the spring semester after missing so much time from school, I stayed focused on growth. I kept my staff focused on growth. We knew that we may not get all the way to the goal that we had originally set in the summer before the hurricane had happened, but we knew that we could continue to grow children. Because of that growth, y'all, we were the only campus in the district that received an accountability rating that was appropriate for what the public wanted to see. And after the pandemic, and we all know what the pandemic did. After the pandemic, we stayed focused on growth. And we saw with a boundary change within our school system, different types of students, plus everything that had gone on and all of the learning loss from the pandemic, we moved our school from low performing to almost the highest performing level, one level below. Growth is something that you can always accomplish because we can always grow. We can always strive to be better today than we were yesterday. Growth also really motivates your staff, your people, when you're doing hard work, because they can see that their efforts are making a difference. So again, this week, I wanted to start kind of focusing a little more on where my thought processes are when I start to do a turnaround. We already know the process, but how we determine what goals, what types of things we need to stay focused on, so that you can take this information, go back to your organization, and help you scale to the level that you always dreamed that you could do, that you could accomplish, and the whole reason why you started your business. All right. Thank you for joining me. This already is episode number 9. So next week on number 10, we'll talk a little more about my processes. But in the meantime, if you ever need to bounce an idea, you want to connect, I am not only on Facebook, but also on Instagram at Sherry Dixon Consulting. And also my personal profile, you can find me there as well, Sherry Dixon. All right. Have a great rest of your week. And I will see you next week right here on Turnaround Coach.